Meeting of the Newark Planning Commission will come to order. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And tonight, for those participating via Zoom this evening, when we get to the item that you wish to speak on, please use the raise your hand feature, and city staff will turn on your microphone so you can speak at the appropriate time. Let the record show that all members of the Planning Commission are in attendance this evening with the exception of Commissioner Aguilar. And tonight I'd like to welcome our newest Planning Commissioner, Patricia Pitpatan. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Great. That brings us to item B, which is approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting of August the 9th, 2022. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Bogasich, and we have a second by Commissioner Fitz. Can we have a vote, please?
Okay, so
There we go.
and then we do start voting.
Just, there we go. Thank you.
Oops, let's go. Commissioner, there we go, and then tally vote.
Okay. The motion passes 3 ayes and 1 abstention and 1 absent. Just item C on the agenda, which is communications. Do we have any written communications this evening?
None this evening.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to oral communications. It's item D. That gives anybody in the audience an opportunity to speak on anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item? Okay. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak via Zoom tonight?
None this evening.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item E, which is public hearings. And item E1 is a public hearing to consider a resolution recommending approval of a design review, a conditional use permit, a minor use permit, and a master sign program, which is DR 2020-002. This is for a hotel development located at 39888 Ballantyne Drive. And the APN number is 901-195-10. May we have the staff report?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Carmelisa Lopez, our senior planner, who will be giving the staff report this evening.
Good evening, Commission Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Carmelisa Lopez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. For this presentation, I'll be presenting on the AC Marriott project, a proposed hotel development at 39888 Ballantyne Drive. On this slide, it's just a general outline of what the presentation will include, and at the end of my presentation, I'll be for any questions. Some general site information for this project. It is a 1.66 acre site. Currently, there's an existing restaurant. It's the Nijo Castle Japanese restaurant. It's bounded by Ballantyne Drive, Maori School Road, and a paved access easement. There are various commercial uses surrounding the property. And in this slide, you'll see a closer aerial of the project site. You can more easily see the access easement that wraps around 2 sides of the property. So the project before you today, the applicant is Nimish Patel of Patel Real Estate LLC, and he is proposing an AC Hotel by Marriott. That's the proposed brand for this hotel. It's approximately 75,000 square feet, 5 stories tall, almost 60 feet tall, 132 rooms. There are 2 ballrooms, 96 parking spaces, and some signage that is included in the proposal. There are various guest amenities, and I would also like to note that this is the Same applicant for the Hyatt Place that's currently under construction, just north of the project site. On this slide, you'll see the site plan and the circulation plan. To the left is the site plan. I'll just go over a few key details regarding the site plans. So as you'll see, there is parking all around the building. The main parking area is along Maury School Road. And there are two entrances proposed for the hotel. One where there will be a porte-cochere where guests can be picked up and dropped off, as well as small delivery trucks will be delivering things throughout the day. The entrance that you see right next to the main parking area, that will be primarily used for events, but just generally an entrance for guests. And to the right, it shows the circulation plan. In green, you'll see arrows going in and out of the access easement. That's just vehicular circulation. And in red, you'll see the pedestrian access plan. There's a walkway that wraps around the building and various access points from the public right-of-way to the hotel. And also two driveways that are currently existing that lead to the project site. On this slide, you'll see the landscape plan. The project includes a diverse palette of landscaping throughout the project site. There's also what we call green screens, which is basically vertical panels with greenery. It helps with screening the project site from the public right-of-way. So you'll see that on various elevations as well as site boundaries. And the next few slides will be the floor plans. I just highlighted a few key features. So some of the guest amenities as well as the ballrooms are shown here. And on the second floor, there will be a fitness room available to guests, as well as the first set of hotel rooms. On the third floor, there is a roof terrace. So there is an inner court that is open air. There's also the ballroom that you see to the left of the roof terrace. And that will also be for guests. And the fourth and fifth floor plan are the same, just all hotel rooms. So in this slide, it's the south and east elevations. I will caution that on this elevation, it is appeared darker compared to the renderings. That's just printing error. It is a white and gray color palette. You'll see some aluminum canopy awnings, as well as the signage proposed. And on this slide, you can see the green screens on the ground level. So next, I'll be going into the consistency with the general plan and the zoning code. So the hotel use is consistent with the general plan, and it's an allowed land use designation in this area. As for the zoning code, hotels are permitted by right, and the banquet hall use, which is considered an ancillary use to this hotel, is permitted with the approval of a conditional use permit, which I'll refer to as CUP. The project is overall consistent with all applicable zoning regulations, with the exception of ground floor height, on-site loading spaces, and on-site vehicle parking. Briefly regarding ground floor height, that requirement is for ground floor retail uses, so we did not apply that to this project. For on-site loading spaces, we don't anticipate large delivery vehicles, so we did not require on-site loading spaces for this project. And on-site vehicle parking, I'll go more into depth on that later in the presentation. And briefly, the entitlements requested for this project are design review, a conditional use permit, a minor use permit, and a master sign program. So in these next slides, I'll describe in a bit more detail what each entitlement entails. So for design review, it's required for all projects involving new construction. The applicant has worked with staff for quite some time to refine the building and site design to get where we are today. We believe it will enhance the appearance of the site and surrounding environment. It has a contemporary design. It's well articulated and uses a variety of colors and materials. This is a night rendering where you can see the vertical lighting, the accent lighting, as well as the red panel siding. That is like a blue indigo color, so it acts as sort of an accent element. And then you can see the ground floor highlighted with or featured with the canopies and the signage. As for the conditional use permit entitlement, it is required for the banquet hall use. It's approximately a 4,200 square foot space on the ground level. It will be used for various events such as weddings, meetings, and seminars. There is a main entrance that the event attendees would be using right next to the pre-function area. And the hotel operator doesn't anticipate many of the attendees to stay at the hotel, as well as use various rideshare companies such as Lyft and Uber to get to and from events. So just to be careful with this proposed use and to ensure that it meets all the requirements for the conditional use permit, we've imposed a few conditions of approval. For example, the hours of events will be limited. If live entertainment is involved, we'll require a minor use permit. And then if any complaints are received, we will require additional analyses. So as for the minor use permit portion of this project, the zoning code does allow for a parking reduction with the approval of a minor use permit. Currently, the zoning code requires one space for each hotel room, which requires 132 parking spaces. The applicant did provide a parking demand study to supplement the request. And that concluded that the project does meet the parking demand for the hotel. And with implementation of a transportation demand management plan, it would further reduce the demand by 15%. So that would be at 78 parking spaces. And the last entitlement is the master sign program. It's required for projects that involve 5 or more signs. So this slide just shows where the proposed signage will be located and at the various locations throughout the site. So there will be monument signs, various building signs, and awning signs. As for the environmental review portion of the project, staff has determined that the project is eligible for a Class 32 categorical exemption. We've retained the services of Rincon Consultants. We have a representative here today who can provide responses to any questions you might have about the environmental review. But generally, the report found that the project is consistent and is eligible. So the required findings for each of the entitlements is included in the staff report under Attachment 3, and staff was able to confirm that the project complies with all the required findings. And this slide here just summarizes the requested entitlements again. Just to reiterate, the design review for the proposed hotel, the conditional use permit for the proposed banquet hall use, a minor use permit for a proposed parking reduction, and the master sign program for the proposed signage. That concludes my presentation. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve by Resolution DR 2020-002 as requested by the project applicant based on the findings provided in Attachment 3, which is the draft resolution. As mentioned, I'm available if you have any questions. We also have representatives from the applicant's team here today and also with our environmental consultant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lopez. Appreciate that very succinct report, but comprehensive as well. Do any members of the commission have any questions for staff at this point? Okay. I actually have a comment that I wanted to make. I had discussed this with staff earlier. I had initial concerns about the parking reductions. And, you know, after speaking with staff and talking about the parking study that was required, I think staff pointed out that that resulted in a reduction of 15% of the parking requirements or parking demand. What are some examples of the offsets that parking plan would entail?
Generally, so they would be developing a transportation demand management plan, and some examples can include like a shuttle service to the airport, some rideshare opportunities for employees, so they could provide them with transportation benefits and things like that. There's also some accommodations for bicycle parking, so both short-term and long-term. There will be bicycle lockers available for employees, and then the short-term parking for guests. So the exact specifics of what the the operator will include, we'll find that out later in the process, but we'll be monitoring every year to make sure that it's working efficiently.
Okay. And my concern was with 132 rooms, only 96 parking spots, you have that ballroom. What's the occupancy load on that ballroom?
So it will depend on the certain layout. The applicant has informed us that it could go up to 600, but that would be basically everyone standing up. I think they're anticipating various types of events, so weddings, of course, meetings with tables and chairs, and then seminars. So it'll really depend. I think the conditions of approval will hopefully address any concerns regarding any exceeding the amount of parking demand.
Yeah, I did not realize it had a potential occupancy load of 600 individuals, plus the rooms that are in there. 96 parking spots seems a little tight for the project. But anyway, perhaps the applicant, when the applicant comes up here, can address that. Okay, no other questions? Okay, seeing none, at this point, I'm going to open the public hearing and allow anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on the item to do so. And as is tradition, we start with the applicant. Good evening.
Commission.
And are you Mr. Patel?
No, I'm Sharad Lal. I'm the architect at SKL Associates.
Okay, and so I've got to ask the first question. Have you read the resolution? And
Yes.
2, do you agree to all the conditions?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. Did you have any,
I have a very brief talk,
okay,
and then I'm here to answer questions, basically.
go ahead.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission to give me this opportunity to represent Mr. Patel. He's been very happy with the city of Newark for selecting this for the second project of his. And we hope this will be a much more enhanced project with the AC Hotel by Marriott. So I've been working on this project for probably 3 years with previous iterations. And we have worked with staff and got very valuable inputs with them to come to this stage with this project. For this final iteration, Mr. Patel felt that he needed to have something of an amenity that distinguishes this project from other hotels. And so he decided that ballrooms will be very helpful. It helps to sell the hotel rooms, but also for long-term business proposal in the hotel, it'll be making the project more successful and viable. So we decided to go with a more upscale brand with AC Hotel. And the ballrooms will really supplement the business plan along with the hotel. So there were some concerns that you had regarding the parking.
Yes,
What happens is that during the weekday events, usually the hotel rooms are not in the daytime. The hotel rooms are not occupied by guests, so most of the parking is available for those events. On weekends, it'll be mostly weddings in which the hotel rooms accommodate the guests that come to the wedding. So they'll be sharing the parking that between the guests and the people that actually attend the wedding. And along with that, with ride share and potential shuttle service, there are many ways to go around. If there's an issue, we could go to a valet parking type of situation where you get a valet service to come and pack the parking spaces in the parking lot.
have you looked at or explored any reciprocal agreements with any of the adjacent businesses?
The adjacent parking lot is pretty much empty. So we haven't actually had any formal agreement with them, but that is also available if we need to implement something beyond what the site can handle.
Yeah, okay.
So with that, I'd like to thank staff for preparing such a nice presentation today and also guiding us throughout the process. And I'll hang around for any further questions that you have.
Great.
I also have with me Mr. Rajan Patel and Dilip. He's a civil engineer. So if there's any other questions regarding operations, they will be able to help me out.
Great, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item while the public hearing is still open? Okay. Mr. Turner, do we have anybody via Zoom that would like to speak? on this item?
Nobody via Zoom tonight.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at this time, and I'll bring it back to the commission. Do we have any additional questions or comments regarding this project? I do. Commissioner Fitz?
Okay. Am I live?
There you go. Now
Okay.
you are.
Okay, I'm live. Got newfangled, well, we haven't had many meetings here. Yeah, so it looks like a real nice project. I just had a couple of questions, maybe to echo what Chairman Becker said about the parking. I guess we would, with the master plan of parking, if there was a problem and like you had a big wedding and the ballrooms were both filled and there wasn't enough parking and there was a problem from some of the other neighboring businesses like Chuck E. Cheese or something, that could be worked out in a management plan that we have. And you said you possibly could have valet parking or something like that. Yeah. And the other question I had is, and maybe I wanted to, I'm not quite sure what the third floor roof terrace is. Could you explain that a little bit more? And also, is the restaurant and bar open to the general public if you wanted to come in, not staying in the hotel, use that for the public?
Yeah, it'll be open, but primarily it'll be for hotel guests. They do
Yeah.
serve breakfast and dinner, as well as lunch. So as far as the third floor, basically the building is designed like a rectangular donut. So there are hotel rooms that actually face the inside of the courtyard. And on the third floor, above the fitness room, there'll be open area people can, in the daytime or night times, work out there. There'll be chairs and all that.
Okay.
So we don't have much detail on it because the interior designer, on this part, I focused on the exterior. But the next level is, coming in with the interior designers and all that to take care of the inside part of the building.
And that'd be probably for only use for the guests, right?
Yes.
That's not a public area
Yes,
there.
yeah.
I got all excited when I read that because we did have a hotel that was proposed that had a rooftop restaurant and garden and bar. So I thought that might be that, but it's not.
It's a bit small for that kind of use. But I've seen hotels where, guests will hang around after breakfast and work on the computer and laptop. And so it's a place for socializing. Small.
Great, yeah, I've done a little research on that AC Marriott property. Nice property, upper scale too, and I think that's gonna be a good addition.
Yeah, AC started off in Spain, so the food they serve on the menu is all very Spanish inspired.
And you were involved with the Hyatt Place too?
I did that too.
That's getting about ready to open too, isn't it?
Yeah, within a month, I would say month
Oh,
month
okay.
and a half.
Now, do you ever plan to have any grand opening celebrations, ribbon cutting and,
We do, yeah,
good.
we do.
Let us know when that happens.
Sure.
Okay, I think
I
that's all I got.
also, I wanted to say, Mr. Turner, we have worked with him in Redwood City when he was there, so he's also probably familiar with our work.
Great, good.
Okay, and I just have one general question. It's regarding the hotel business. You obviously putting these two hotels in close proximity. What is the state of the hotel business coming out of the pandemic now?
Well, it's improving, and on the long run, of course, by the time this comes online, we hope things will be much better than today. But it was affected really badly during the COVID time.
Yes. Well, the owner wouldn't be investing if they didn't feel like the hotel
Yeah.
business was going to rebound.
Yeah, he feels good about Newark, so he's going ahead.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had one other question. When would you anticipate opening? Are you gonna get started on it right away? And
Yes, we are going to start right away. It'll take probably another 2.5 years to open.
yeah. That's about what the Hyatt Place took too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, thank you. And just a general question, I guess, for staff again, going back to the parking. I just, again, have this vision of, even 500, 400 people in that ballroom. Will staff have an opportunity to circle back if there are any issues in the future?
Yes, there's besides the option or the requirement for the TDM plan, which will further find ways to reduce the impact of parking up to 15%, there is a condition as part of your Exhibit B. It's Condition X, which basically requires the property owner to address any parking complaints or that the city might get, and allows the community development director to ask the property owner to mitigate any issues with parking at their cost.
Great, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Appreciate that. Okay, seeing no additional questions, at this point, I'm going to entertain a motion then to approve by resolution the design review, the conditional use permit, the minor use permit, and then the master sign program as recommended by staff. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Okay, we've got a motion from Commissioner Fitz and a second by Commissioner Bogasich. Can we go ahead and vote on that? And the motion passes, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Thank you very much, and good luck on the project. We look forward to that hotel open. Great. And congratulations on your first vote too, Patricia.
It's a nice one. Wish you could see more of these hotels.
Yeah, I want to see the rooftop terrace. I have ideas.
Okay, that's it for public hearings tonight. That brings us to item F, staff reports. We do not have any staff reports scheduled this evening. So that will bring us to commission matters. Commission matter G1 is report on any city council actions. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Chair Becker, and it is a pleasure to see the planning commissioners again tonight. It has been a while since our last meeting, so, and we'll look forward to Commissioner Aguilar joining us at a future meeting to have all 5 council or commissioners present at one time. So nice to see you all again. A couple of items to report out from council. On September 22nd, council held a council meeting, and that was a big day for the Community Development Department because council took action on 2 items. One was the FMC Willow project, and this is a project that the Planning Commission recommended approval on their meeting in July. So Art Interiano presented the staff report and the staff recommendation from the Planning Commission, provided details about the project, and ultimately the City Council approved that project. Art, maybe you can remind the Planning Commission just the parameters of the project, including number of units and the other
Sure.
entitlements?
So yeah, that project is moving forward. And if you didn't know, that was Lennar who is in part of that agreement. So they're building the subdivision right next door. So, you know, that project's gonna move very quickly. But the project parameters for that one is, so it's a 22-acre site. It was a 90-unit affordable housing project, which was great, a good, big win for the city for that. And also the 5-acre Grand Park, which was originally approved back with the Harbor Point project a few years ago, but this kind of gave us a second kind of, I don't want to say bite of the apple, but it kind of was, to kind of refine some of the improvements on the park, and then kind of get that going forward. In addition to almost 300, actually it's 292 market rate housing units. In addition to the transit station that was going to be transferred to the city, and then that will be our future station once the rail comes around.
So that was a huge step forward for the Bayside Newark TOD area. It sort of completes a lot of the development phases out at that area. So that was a big decision for the council that night. The second action that council took that night was relating to the conversion of the Town Place Suites Hotel to Cedar Community Apartments affordable housing. So council reviewed agreements that would be established between the city and the developer. That's Allied Housing, which is an arm of Abode Services, a well-known and respected affordable housing and service provider within the community. Council approved those agreements, and that allowed the property a number of weeks later to transfer ownership from the Marriott Corporation, which owned that hotel, to Allied Housing. So Allied Housing now controls that site and the buildings. They are starting the preparation work for transitioning the hotel into affordable housing. Marketing activities relating to tenant recruitment is beginning this week. And as part of those marketing activities, the city is sending a postcard to every address in Newark, letting the community know that this opportunity is available and that eligible households who are interested in Cedar Community Apartments can visit a website to learn how to apply and get more information. So we really wanted to make sure the entire community is aware of this affordable housing opportunity. It is designated for folks who are making 30% of the area median income, so extremely low income households. But as a reminder, there'll be 124 units available and hopefully filled within the next 4 to 5 months, which, as you know, affordable housing takes quite a while to review, develop, and construct before even one unit can be occupied. It sometimes can take years. In this case, it's going to take months. We're extremely pleased as a city to be able to provide that opportunity for our lower income residents and residents throughout the region and community. Very eventful night on September 22nd. We're also looking forward to a couple of items at council coming up in the next month or so. On Thursday, council is holding a council meeting, and as it relates to hotels, council will be reviewing the state of transit occupancy taxes here in the city. And it will be a very interesting presentation. There's a lot on the agenda, and the TOT presentation is at the very end, so it may begin perhaps an hour or two after the start time of 7 o'clock. But the presentation is a joint effort by Community Development and Finance and our hotel consultants that will be able to give the council and the community kind of a sense of how Newark is doing coming out of the recession with regards to TOT. And there'll be really quite a bit of interesting information about how Newark is fairly well positioned in the region to take advantage of the hotel market. And approving a new hotel tonight here at the Planning Commission will be transmitted in terms of your action to the City Council for an informational purposes, but it is another investment in our community for a hotel. And so the consultants will show how Newark is in a very good position to take advantage of the hotel market as we come out of the pandemic. A couple of other important items. On December 8th, Council will hold their last council meeting of the year. That is mostly a ceremonial meeting to seat a new mayor and perhaps 1 or 2 council members. And so planning commissioners are encouraged to attend that meeting. There will also be a ceremony for Mayor Nagy as he steps off his term of mayor and on the city council. So we would encourage your attendance on that. And then finally, the city's holiday tree lighting ceremony is taking place on December 5th at 5:30, and that is an annual event that we had to cancel during COVID, but we held it last year, and it was a very popular event. And so we would encourage the planning commissioners to attend that as well if they're interested. With that, there's no other items to report from staff tonight, other than to introduce Sophia Castillo, whom I'm sure you all know. She's our administrative support specialist, and I've asked her to start to attend the Planning Commission meetings so she can operate the technology in the room much better than I can, so that Art and I can kind of focus on the Planning Commission and your comments. So you'll start to see Sophia at these meetings going forward.
Great.
And with that, that concludes staff's information for tonight.
Great, a lot of good information. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item H, which is Planning Commissioner comments. And that gives any of the planning commissioners a chance to speak on something that hasn't already been discussed on the agenda. Do we have any commissioners that would like to say anything? Commissioner Fitz.
Okay, so can we turn our,
You're on.
oh, I'm on.
You're on.
Okay, good. Okay, yes, thank you. I'd just like to congratulate our chair, Mr. Becker, on receiving the coveted Viola Blythe Award, which is the Volunteer of the Year Award for the City of Newark. It is a really big deal. John has been, formerly was our city manager, put in a lot of time and hard work there, but he's continuing to serve in the community as a volunteer. He's in pretty good company because Mayor Nagy received the Viola Blythe Award and Councilman Bucci received the Viola Blythe Award. I know that John's involved with the Rotary and also with Viola Blythe, so my hat's off to you. Congratulations on this achievement, and I think it's well-deserved.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, seeing not, that brings us to the final item on the agenda, which is item I, which is adjournment. We are
My
adjourned.
favorite part.
Record.